having a great morning. We have just stopped to get some gas. We're on our way to Catlettsburg, to Jim McCoy's grave and Floyd's grave. So come along and see what we find.
On an adventure?
We are on an adventure. Oh, that's Fred behind the camera.
Where we at, Sheila?
We are at Catlettsburg at Jim McCoy, and there you go.
Catlettsburg, Kentucky.
At their gravesite.
At the Catlettsburg Cemetery. Did you see the sign there?
Yes, I think I got it. Oh, good.
And we are going to visit Jim McCoy and Floyd McCoy, his brother, graves, which should be right up here on the left, or at least one of them right here. Here's James McCoy. There's Jim's.
Oh, really? Cool.
And then right around here close is going to be Floyd. So we're going to park.
Look at this,
and
how
we'll
pretty
get out.
though. It's pretty.
See you in a little bit.
Hi guys. Hope you're having a great day. We have now arrived at Jim McCoy's gravesite here in Catlettsburg. So let's go check it out. Wow. Wow. Let's see. Here's Floyd. And there's James. There's Jim.
Well, yeah, you got James on one side. You got Jim McCoy on one side.
Yeah.
Of course, you've got Floyd on the other. Here is both of their stones.
Yeah. Oh, I like the shotgun, a rifle, whatever you want to call it.
Well, that's something that
Someone put there.
yeah, because the McCoys, you never saw the McCoys with guns. That's something the Hatfields, West Virginia Hatfields, Devil Ance's family always had to have those guns portrayed. So this is something that's not from the family. This is something that
Been
probably historical feuders of Hatfield McCoy family. I would say there's the original
That's what I was wondering.
markers. I would say that's the original, and they have just
No.
it's
No,
not
This one is, no, that one says a Stevens on the back
okay.
of it. This one's got something else on the back of it. That's not.
Alrighty. Well, those are newer stones, so they've been put there probably since they started promoting the Hatfield McCoy
Yeah.
tourism thing. Here lies Floyd McCoy, son of Randall and Sarah. Had dinner with his brothers, Tolbert, Farmer, Randolph Jr. after their arrest for stabbing and shooting Ellis and Hatfield in 1882. The next day, Floyd witnessed his brothers being captured by Wall Hatfield and taken to West Virginia. Said if Ellison died, McCoy brothers would be killed. Special thanks to Clifford New and Ed McCoy. Special thanks for the story, because Floyd McCoy, if you remember, in T.C. Crawford's book, T.C. Crawford wrote that Good Elias told him that at the election that day when they were stabbing and shooting Ellison, that he shot at Floyd McCoy as he ran off. Floyd had either stabbed or shot, supposedly,
Exactly
Ellison.
right, yeah.
And now that's T.C. Crawford, and T.C. Crawford got the story from Good Elias himself.
Yeah.
I mean, this is not 2018 by somebody that says this or that. This is T.C. Crawford in 1888 interviewed Good Elias,
Right.
and Good Elias told him that there was 4 of them that had attacked
He did.
And
Exactly
he said he emptied his gun. It seems like he said he missed all of them. I can't remember.
I'm not
But
sure, but I do remember that.
I know that I would prefer to believe what T.C. Crawford wrote in 1888 that he got from.
Exactly, because it just had happened. So,
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, it's,
Here lies James H. McCoy, oldest son of Randall and Sarah. Last living McCoy feudist before passing away in 1929. He was a peacemaker in the feud and tried to talk Frank Phillips out of killing Jim Vance and Bill Dempsey. In 1928, James and Tennis Hatfield, youngest son of Devil Anse, met in Pikeville, Kentucky and called a formal truce between the families. Presented by Ashland/Boyd County Tourism. This is the one that you see William Keith Hatfield with his arm up against, leaned on.
yeah.
And one newspaper story said that's where they got the story from. And William Keith says that they called James McCoy a peacemaker, and they also called Sarah Sally. That's what he said. Now, that was in 2018 he said this. Sarah died in 1890, whereabouts there. And but he knows that they called her Sally, even though they beat her half to death. West Virginia Hatfield, Chauncey and crazy Jim Vance. But that's what he told the newspapers, that they called her Sally, like they were big friends. He also said that Jim McCoy tried to talk Frank Phillips out of killing Jim Vance and Bill Dempsey. In 1928, James and Tennis Hatfield, the youngest son of Devil Anse, met. Now, guys, we done a
Story.
we done a story on this. I'm gonna here's William Keith Hatfield. Of course, he's a lot taller, but that's what he was leaned up against. He come from Oklahoma in here to pose with this sign right here for the newspaper to get some media coverage all the way from Oklahoma to speak on behalf of Jim McCoy and Floyd McCoy.
Which is not correct.
Guys, we've done a couple of videos on this, and I wish you'd go watch them.
Yeah.
Because they're very informative. One of them's rather lengthy, but they're informative. And it's not something that Sheila and I are just going to lean up against the sign and travel down here to get the newspaper and say, hey, yeah, we called her Sally, and he was a peacemaker. Come on, guys. We done a newspaper article a while back where a reporter came in from South Carolina, or Georgia. Came in from Georgia. And he went and seen Devil Anse Hatfield. And I'm not going to go over the whole story because we've done it. Go find that video and watch it. But while he's there, him and Devil Anse, first he said he thought Devil Anse was going to kill him. He thought he was a detective. And then Devil Anse, they become friends, and Devil Anse gave him some honey and gave him some bear meat, I believe it was, to take back with them. They become good friends. Devil Anse told him before he left, said, hey, as you go back through Kentucky there, I don't want to lean on that. As you go back through Kentucky, stop and see old Randall and tell him this feud's going on long enough. Let's call it quits. And the gentleman reporter's name, all the story, the newspaper article, everything is in that video that we've got. But he stops and sees Randall McCoy, and he says when he mentioned Devil Anse's name that Randall McCoy almost blew up. Not in those words, but
Right,
like
he just refused.
Said he could just see his face. He could, the anger. Well, he's sure he had anger. He killed half his family.
Exactly.
Killed his kids. But he wouldn't talk to him. So who's this gentleman go talk to? He leaves Randall McCoy's and he goes and talks to the person that's taking care of all the family business at the time.
Yep.
He goes and talks to James McCoy.
Yep.
Big Jim McCoy. He went and talked to Randall's oldest son, who was a Pike County deputy sheriff. You know, he was a Pike County Deputy Sheriff when they arrested John C. Hatfield. Him and Tolbert both were Pike County Deputy Sheriffs. He's still a deputy sheriff, and the reporter goes and talks to him and says, hey, Devil Ann sent me here. I couldn't talk to your dad. I want to talk to you. Wants to end this feud. Of course, we know he wanted to end the feud so he could get those warrants recalled. He still had warrants on him for murder.
Yeah. He
murdered 3 of Randall's children, his boys, tied them up to trees naked, shot them, assassinated them.
Mm-hmm.
And Jim McCoy told him, Sheila,
he said he owes it to the dead. He said as long as there's a breath in him, he will not forgive Devil Lance, because he owed it to his family members that were killed by him.
Yeah.
So as long as he was living, he wasn't going to do that.
As long as he was breathing air, he would never forgive Devil Lance and his.
And yes.
Devil Lance and his family.
Exactly.
As long as there was a breath of air.
Him and his, yeah.
Now, does that sound like somebody that's wanting to be a peacemaker at that point in life?
No, he was seeking justice. He said he was a poor man because of this.
Yeah.
He made himself a poor man.
Yeah. And it's an interesting video, guys. If you get a chance, go watch the video we did on William Keith Hatfield. Would have been the new boy. Would have been this historical marker here that somebody put up, and is as incorrect as anything you could put up here. This is a hogwash. This is nothing but hogwash when you read that right there. He was a peacemaker in the feud and tried to talk Frank Phillips out of killing Jim Vance and Bill Dempsey. Who says that? Who was there? Where's that documented at, other than right here? Where is that documented at? That Jim McCoy said, hey Frank, don't kill Jim Vance, don't kill Bill Dempsey. Where's that documented at? Who else in history has ever made that statement? Guys, there was 4 people. There was 3 people for sure. And they say that Lark McCoy also got around in. So you had bad Frank Phillips that actually killed, point blank, Jim Vance. But before he killed Jim Vance had already been wounded. He had been wounded by Bud McCoy, Asa Harmon McCoy's youngest son. And he had also been shot by Jim McCoy, Randall McCoy's oldest son. Jim McCoy here put a bullet into Jim Vance that day, running him through the woods. He actually shot. He was one of the guys that shot Jim Vance. And that would have been Jim McCoy, Bud McCoy, Frank Phillips, and they say that Lark McCoy also put a slug in Jim Vance. Now, whether he done it when he was alive or after he done been killed by Frank Phillips, I don't know. I wasn't there. But I know that Jim McCoy was not there 6, 7, 8 days later after they killed his another brother and sister. Beat his mother half to death.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that Jim McCoy was not there saying, hey guys, hold off, don't hurt Jim Vance, don't hurt Bill Dempsey, don't hurt nobody. That's bullshit, people. That's bull. That's incorrect. If you believe that, you might as well change channels and go watch somebody else's videos, because you don't want to hear the truth, and you can't use common sense. Jim McCoy did not go with that posse to keep the peace. He went there to seek revenge and justice. He went there for justice. He went there to arrest those that had just burnt his father and mother's cabin down, those that had killed his sister and brother, Alifair and Calvin, and that had beat his mother and left her for dead. He went there for justice. But this historical marker here, put up by the Kentucky Historical Society, says, and the number on it's 2547. So if you ever see that one, you'll know it's a bunch of crap, not worth the material it's wrote on, because they've allowed somebody to influence a historical marker rather than writing the truth, or just put in James McCoy, participant in the Hatfield McCoy feud. You could have left it at that. but you had to add he was a peacemaker in the feud. Now, let me clarify that so some people don't come up and say, well, now he was a peacemaker. Yes, in the end he was a peacemaker, but what's this word right here? That word right there has a lot of bearing. He was a peacemaker in the feud. No, he was a peacemaker after the feud. He was a peacemaker in 1928 after Devil Anse Hatfield had died in 1921. He wasn't a peacemaker with Devil Anse Hatfield. He was a peacemaker with Devil Anse Hatfield's youngest son, Tennis Hatfield. Tennis Hatfield wasn't born, I think, when was Willis Hatfield born, babe? Wasn't he born right after the Cabin Massacre?
One of them they were born.
Willis was born February of 1888. They burnt the cabin down in January of 88, and just 2 months later, or a month later, Willis Hatfield was born.
Who was named after the governor. Named
after Willis Wilson, the governor of West Virginia. 7th governor, I believe. And so while Devil Anse's family is out killing 2 more of Randall McCoy's children, Devil Anse has a child a month later. Now, I think it was 2 years later. I could be wrong. I'm sure everybody checks, so it's good for you to do your research. Go check and see when Tennis Hatfield was born. I think he was born a couple of years later, but Tennis Hatfield was Devil Anse Hatfield's youngest son. He had nothing to do with the feud.
Yeah. He was born after the fact.
Yeah.
Per se, so, yeah.
So there would have been no reason to have any hard feelings.
Exactly.
Toward Tennis.
That's the thinking, is that's why James or Jim did the peace treaty thing with Tennis, because he was innocent.
Yeah, and I agree.
Of everything that happened before his time, before he was born.
He held no animosity toward Tennis Hatfield, because Tennis Hatfield wasn't born until after the cabin burning.
Right.
We know Willis was born in 1888. I'm thinking Tennis was born in 1890, something like that. Could be wrong. Could be wrong. Well, he was born after Willis, though, I believe.
Right.
And so the feud would have been over in February 18 of 1890 when they killed Cotton Top, when they hung him.
Yeah.
So the feud was over. After Devil Anse died in 1921, then James McCoy and Tennis Hatfield happened to run up on each other. It wasn't a planned meeting. They just happened to meet each other on the streets in Pikeville. Jim McCoy, again, was a deputy sheriff there.
Right.
And they run into each other and casually shook hands. And that was it.
The truce or whatever.
Because Jim McCoy said he would never forgive the Hatfields until all of them were brought to justice. Brought to justice or dead. And by then, they had all, other than Willis, but Willis wasn't involved because he was only born in 1888.
He was born after January of 88, so yeah.
So, you know, as far as that marker, and it's just upsetting. Like I said, maybe, sorry guys, battery went dead.
Yeah, they get hot and then shut off.
Probably get tired of hearing me.
No, I don't know what it is, but they get really, really hot and then shut off.
Well, okay guys, got just a couple of things here we wanted to make a point of. One of them is that Floyd McCoy actually died in 1928. 1928, that's the year that Tennis and Jim McCoy did happen to meet up and shake hands. And so he died the very year. He died in June of that year. Notice when Floyd McCoy was born. Born in 1858. 1858. I was born in 1958, so that was 100 years before me. And you know, the funny thing is, Jim McCoy and Tolbert McCoy both were deputy sheriffs.
Yeah.
In 1880 and 1882. both of them, before they had the thing out with Ellison and election grounds.
Pot.
That was 100 years prior to myself and my brother being Pike County Deputy Sheriffs. They were Pike County Deputy Sheriffs in 1880, and my brother and I were Pike County Deputy Sheriffs in 1980, up till 1989. And so it's interesting history. The other thing here, we had one other thing. Well, I've lost my thought now, but
well, he passed in 1929, so he died a year.
Yeah, just a little over a year after his brother did. And okay, it's just a, you know, when you fool with this Hatfield McCoy stuff, it's
He goes everywhere.
addictive.
Yes.
It's addictive, and when you try to figure things out, and the sad thing is that people, just for the sake of getting their names on a historical marker, they'll say anything with absolutely little or no substance to it. And the other sad thing is that the Kentucky Historical Society will actually print it on one of these historical markers.
Yep.
You know, when you go somewhere, it used to be I'd go somewhere, Sheila and I, we've always been researchers. We're history buffs. We go everywhere. What was we passed on the way down here? And I said, what are, oh, we coming through Danville and looking at the old cabin.
Yeah.
And somebody's house there. We had never heard of the guy. And Sheila said, who is that? And I said, I don't know, but there's a historical marker out front.
Yeah.
We'll definitely come over here someday and research it, because that's what we like to do. But you know, the sad thing is, when you do this for a while and you go around to these, it really has a bearing on you, and it should have it on you. Anytime you read historical markers, I don't care if, I don't know if any other states is like Kentucky or not. Kentucky's it just seems like it's, but you know, maybe other states is the same way. But you may want to be leery. Just because you've got it on this nice placard doesn't make it true. Thanks. Fellas, that's gonna, or guys, audience, and girls and guys, it's gonna conclude. It's a beautiful day here.
Beautiful. It's 80-some degrees here.
We had a good drive up. We're going to go to some other places.
Yeah.
While we're in this area, we've got some other videos to do that won't be coming up for a day or two after this one, probably.
Yeah, we got like 4 or 5 videos that'll be coming out, some related to the feud and some not,
that we're behind on. But very it's a beautiful day here, beautiful cemetery the way it's laid out.
Did you look around this way?
And we are in Catlettsburg, Kentucky, Ashland, and big sycamore tree. When I was a kid, that was our favorite tree to climb. Yeah, you could climb a sycamore. They got limbs.
They trimmed all the branches off.
They got limbs everywhere. Sheila, you got anything else on Jim McCoy or the story?
No, just that that's incorrect.
Sure, guys. If you get a chance and you're interested in this story, go to the. They're toward the front, or at least middle ways. We got over 200. We got over 220 some. 200 and some videos. So it's but it'll show a historical marker. One of them shows William Keith Hatfield with his arm resting on that when they were dedicating it, and some newspaper articles where they had talked to the press that day and gave them these stories that were incorrect. And
the
that's
title of it, they called her Sally, was the title of the video.
The title of that video, she says, is they called her Sally, because that's what William Keith from Oklahoma, that's what he says. You know, he knows. Well, she's making the motion toward me, so but you know, it's frustrating. It's frustrating. You know, if y'all want to make Devil Anse out to be this big hero when he was a coward and a murderer, you know, that's up to you all. But when you start fooling with the McCoy history, you know, that's a different story. And that may be why we're trying to cover Devil Anse's history so much, since everybody wants to get involved with everybody's history when they don't know a thing about it, and just totally
they're rewriting it.
Totally rewriting history, but totally made this story up. totally made that story up. He was a peacemaker in the feud and tried to talk Frank Phillips out of killing Jim Vance.
Yeah, like you said, he might have been a peacemaker otherwise, but I know me, I don't know if I could handle it the way some people do. I mean, you killed 3 of my siblings, and I don't know how.
And then they killed 2 more.
And then, yeah, that's
And
what I'm saying.
beat his wife.
I don't know how you could not want justice.
Well, guys, if you ever come to Ashland, beautiful cemetery, and show your respects to James and Floyd McCoy, which also had a rough life. That was Randall's 2 sons.
Yeah.
The other son is buried on the Deal Cemetery there in Pikeville, or at least another one. And
the other one, let's see.
but
Tom Fair and them are all on.
Yeah, on the John Vance property. So anyway, if you ever come here, it's a beautiful place to visit, but when you read this stuff here, you can take it and throw it out the window. Other than that, he passed away in 1929. You know, he passed away the year after him and Tennis Hatfield. It's like that's what he was waiting on, to make it right, make peace with somebody before he went on. You know, Jim McCoy was a, we've got it in our big book, but he was actually big in the Masonic. He was a Mason. And he was big in the Masonic community, and with the Masons there in Pikeville. Jim and his son, we've got the log sheet somewhere in our book. It's in our book, and we posted the attendance and the log sheet of the members during that time.
Yeah.
And he was right at the top of the list as far as whatever. I'm not a Mason, so I wouldn't know. But he was big in the Masons, and evidently well liked in the Pikeville community and Kentucky community. But like anybody's family would be, who would be so forgiving, you kill 5 of your siblings. Somebody kills 5 of your siblings.
Beat your mom.
Beat your mom, burns your parents' homes down, and but you're going to be this peacemaker. You're not going to use your own judgment, guys. You're smart people out there. Especially, I've said it from the beginning, we may not have the most viewers on these YouTube channels, but I would put our viewers up, because we talk to them.
That's right.
We text, they message, they email, and you know, they agree with some of the things that's skeptical, or some of the things that, you know, there's really no proof either way. You have to use common sense. But if you use common sense, just like on that, would common sense tell you that 8 days after this man saw his 2 siblings froze to the ground when he got there, when Jim McCoy got there, I forget how cold, it was cold that New Year's Eve night. They were froze to the ground from the blood. Sarah beat half to death, but we're to believe that 7-8 days later, Jim McCoy had no animosity toward nobody on the West Virginia side, or Hatfields, or Jim Vance, or no, he just wanted peace. I've harked on it. She's over here. She's telling me to wrap it up.
So please like, subscribe, and share, and we'll catch you on the next one. Bye.
Thank you, guys.